back in the woods.
Morning guys, Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School out here on the Pathfinder School property, and I thought what we do today is have a quick discussion about winterizing your hammock. There are common man ways that you can winterize your hammock or sleep in your hammock in the winter and not have issues with convection, which is the problem with hammocks. Hammocks are very advantageous in that they get you off the ground, they keep you out of any wetness and things like that, but at the same time convection becomes your enemy with a hammock because you have that cold air blowing underneath your body all night, and if you compress the insulation of a sleeping bag or a wool blanket or whatever the case may be that you have inside that sleeping bag, then you don't combat the problem of convection. So I'm going to show you how to combat that a little bit today with very common man means very cheaply. You can go out and buy expensive underquilts. I've got videos on my channel of underquilts made by people like Jacks or Better that are 100% down underquilts, but they're $200–300. I'm going to show you how to winterize your hammock today. Okay guys, real quick before we go over this insulating this hammock from cold weather, I want to show you one of the things that I do that makes setup of my hammocks pretty simple and easy and pretty versatile as far as adjustment of the hammock goes. And it also gives me, I'm all about multifunctionality. So I don't like carrying straps for my hammock. I like to carry rope, and I carry like a 9mm climbing grade rope. This is rappelling grade rope, and I carry two 10-foot pieces of it. So if I had to put a blood knot in it, I'd have 20 feet of it that you could actually climb off of if you had to. It makes it multifunctional. Now, what I generally do with this is I will just turn a knot where I turn the rope on itself, I turn it over and I've got a loop, and then I'll pull a knot through there just like this. And what that does is that creates a slip knot, because now as I pull on this side, it shortens that loop, okay? Then what I'll do is I'll grab my hammock, which is already secured with exactly the same type knot at the other end, and put my hook in it. At that point, I can pull this tight to get that hammock exactly where I want it, whether it is really taut or whatever the case may be. I generally make them pretty tight, then I sit in them, stretch them out a little bit, and then I'll either loosen it up or tighten it up again depending on my preference. Some people like them 2x4 tight. My buddy Steve Davis likes his board tight. I like mine to have a little bit of slack in it. I feel like it cradles me better that way. Once you get your hammock to where you want it, all you have to do at that point is come around and put 1/2 hitch behind that knot, just like this, and make sure it's behind the knot. And then this can no longer pull through. So you have something that's not going to slip on you whatsoever. But because it's pulling on this to try to loosen itself, it's not going to bind this knot. This knot's never going to be in a bind. So when you get ready to undo this, all you have to do is push this rope through, pull it out. When you disconnect your hammock, all you have to do is pull that out, and it's a slip knot. So everything comes undone just like that. So it takes literally just seconds almost to set that up. Once you get used to doing it, and you've got that knot in your head and you know what you're doing with it, you can put that knot in on the tree very quickly, just like that. Grab your hammock up, stick it in there, lift it to the height you want it, and then draw it down to where you want it, just like that, and you're good to go. Put the 1/2 hitch in it like we talked about, just like that, and it's not going to come loose on you at that point. So that's just a really quick tip on how to set up your hammock fast up and down with a piece of good quality rope that will give you that ability to have something multifunctional other than just having that strap material, because like I said, this is rappelling grade rope. You could actually hang off this stuff if you needed to, or use it to assist you in a climb or a descent. Okay guys, so once you've got your hammock hung, now you're going to probably put your sleeping bag or your wool blanket inside of it. And the issue that you have with the winter time is convection. You have a problem with the breeze or the cold air underneath this hammock. Now if you've got your tarp over the top of it, you're blocking some of that side to side, but you still get that throughway where you get cold air, and that's where you get cold in a hammock, because you've compressed the insulation of your sleeping bag or your wool blanket and your clothing, and now you've got that tight space on the bottom of this thing exposed to that cold air. So like I said, you can either put an underquilt under there, which is expensive unless you make your own underquilt. You can put a woobie or something like that under there, a poncho liner, and it'll help. But what I've found to be the best is to carry a couple things with me, and I carry these a lot of times even if I'm sleeping on the ground. You know, padding is not something that should be taken lightly, especially in winter camping, because it's protection, okay? This is a $10 exercise pad from Walmart. Gold's Gym $10 exercise pad. It's pretty thick. It's made out of a foam, so it's very flexible. Unlike the military style ones, it doesn't get stiff in cold weather, and unlike air mattress types like the Thermarest and things like that, you're not going to punch a hole in it, so you don't have to worry about that. It's also multifunctional. I can use this thing to wrap my leg up with duct tape if I get a sprain or a strain. I can use this for a lot of things. I can use it for a ground pad, whatever the case may be. It will get wet, but it dries very, very quickly. So, is this going to be enough? If I put this in the hammock? Probably not all by itself, no. So generally what I'll do is I'll put this in the hammock, and you roll that out in the hammock, and then you've got that. It gives you like a shell in there, okay? Here's the kicker, right here, okay? This weighs absolutely nothing. It folds up very, very small. It doesn't even really have to be this wide. I tend to like this stuff about the width of my bedroll. This is 5 feet long because it doesn't really need to be the length of your body. It needs to cover, you know, from basically your knees to your shoulders and your head, okay? It rolls up this small. I can roll this up inside my wool blanket, inside this other pad if I want to, and it compresses down to this size, about a little bit bigger than a pop can, maybe like a coffee can size. And what this is called Reflex. And what it is, basically, if you want the truth of the matter, it's bubble wrap that has mylar on both sides of it. And what it's used for is insulation around ductwork. So you buy this at the hardware store. It comes in 3-foot widths, 5-foot widths, 1-foot widths. This is a 3-foot wide, I think is what this is. Probably 2-foot wide, it's probably more like it, I apologize. It's probably 2-foot wide. But it comes in a width about this big, and then it comes in something like this as well. $1.29 a foot. So a 5-foot piece of this was about $7. Now I'm taking advantage of the mylar and the heat transfer. So now I've got that bubble wrap for extra insulation. I've already got the pad in there to protect the bottom. And now I'm going to reflect my own heat back up on myself by putting this inside on top of the pad, just like this. And once I have that in there, now I can put my sleeping bag in there or my wool blanket, and I don't have to worry about that convection anymore. I'm not going to crush this insulation so much by laying my weight on it that it's not going to battle that convection. This will sleep very warm, especially with like the black bag from an MMS sleep system. Just the black bag. You don't need the green, you don't need the Gore-Tex. Just this and the black bag will keep you warm well below freezing. Okay, well below freezing. If you're using a wool blanket in here, you can go down a little below freezing and you're still going to be okay. You might get a little chilly in the feet because you don't have that enclosed trapped airspace like you do in a sleeping bag, but we'll do a separate video on wool blankets versus sleeping bags for winter camping and all 4-season camping in another video. What I wanted to do today was I wanted to show you a very common man way. You're talking $17 right here to insulate this hammock and know that I can sleep in this thing with a sleeping bag, a good quality sleeping bag like an MMS system, like a black bag. I'm going to be okay in the morning when I wake up. I don't have to worry about building a big reflective fire, sleeping on the ground, building up 4 inches of compressed insulation, or making some kind of a coal bed. This gets me up off the ground, so I don't have to worry about that conduction problem from the snowy ground or the hard cold ground. And it also battles the convection issues from underneath by putting these two articles inside there. And it doesn't weigh hardly anything. Both of those pads together, I guarantee you, weigh less than a pound or right at a pound. So you're not adding a lot of weight, you're just adding a little bit of bulk to your whatever your sheltering system is. But if you keep it the length of your bedroll on the bottom of your backpack, or whatever the case may be, or the width I should say, you're going to be okay. So that's it right there. Good winter camp setup for a hammock. Okay guys, so here's both of those material mats rolled up with each other. So we've got a tube here that's probably not quite as wide as my hand, probably 4.5, 5 inches across, maybe 6 at the most, and the length of a bedroll that I can put on the bottom of a pack, back of my horse, back of my ATV, whatever the case may be. You can also take this and put it down inside of a 30-liter dry bag, let it open up inside that dry bag, and stuff your sleeping bag down in the middle. And then put your hammock on top of that, ropes on top of that, and you've got a sheltering kit right there. If you can get your tarp in there, that's great. If you can't, just carry it separate. But you got a really good sleeping kit in a 30-liter dry bag if you do it that way. And it's going to be waterproof and bomb-proof. So I wanted to show you guys that today. Okay guys, well, I'm Dave Canberra at the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me for this quick video on winterizing your hammock setup, basically on the cheap. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everything you do for me, for my school, and for my family. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.